Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Human Rights, where we dive deep into everything related to human rights. I'm your host, Julz Allender, with the California chapter of Youth for Human Rights International. Our organization is dedicated to raising awareness and educating people globally about their human rights, emphasizing the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Through this education, we aim to empower and inspire today's youth who will become tomorrow's leaders to advocate for and uphold these rights for themselves and everyone around the world. Typically, for each show, we like to take up one right and try to broaden your understanding of how this right is important to you and your loved ones. For today's show, we will be looking at 4 of the human rights and broaden your understanding of each. But before we do that, let's take a look at some human rights good news around the world. This article comes from humanrightswatch.org. In September of 2024, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa signed a law making, among other provisions, 1 year of pre-primary education required by law, further strengthening the right to education for South Africa's children. From a human rights perspective, education that is required by law is primarily an obligation on governments to ensure quality education is free, accessible, and inclusive. The law also marks an important step toward addressing long-standing challenges in South Africa's education system, including language and policy admission requirements that are a barrier to ensuring access to education for all. Expanding the right to education has been a cornerstone in building a democratic South Africa. In 1955, anti-apartheid groups outlined a vision of freedom for the country, including free, compulsory, universal, and equal education for all. South Africa's constitution enshrines the right to a basic education. They have almost succeeded in realizing this goal. Around 90% of its children now complete lower secondary schooling. Quality pre-primary education benefits children's cognitive and social development, educational attainment, and health. Children's early years represent a critical opportunity to make a positive difference in their lives when the pace of brain development is at its highest. Pre-primary education can mitigate inequalities among children from families of different incomes and can particularly benefit children with disabilities, a sphere where South Africa has unfulfilled obligations, by reinforcing inclusion and reducing discriminatory attitudes. It's not just domestically that South Africa has been advancing children's educational rights. In July, South Africa's ambassador to the United Nations Human Rights Council, Nkasi, expressed support for initiating a process to consider and draft a new treaty to strengthen the right to education under international law. It would explicitly recognize rights to early childhood education, free pre-primary education, beginning with at least 1 year, and free secondary education. And I quote, he says, "While the right to education has long been recognized as a human right and an indispensable means of realizing other rights, it certainly remains a privilege for millions of children across the globe," adding, "will no doubt go a long way in giving this right concrete expression for all children." All right, so we're going to start with human right number 27, copyright, which states, "Everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. Everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author." Now let's take a look at a short video about this specific human right.
Not much.
I'm good, bro.
Got that movie you watched.
Dude. Man. This is pirated.
So?
So, I wanted the real thing.
What's the difference, man?
The difference? So when I start making movies, people ripping me off.
I wouldn't rip you off, man.
Prove it.
Let's examine these ideas a little more closely. Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is all about empowering us to dive fully into the cultural life of our community, to relish the arts, and to embrace the advancements in science that the world has to offer. This article is a crucial bridge that connects us across various cultures, letting us experience a global heritage that's as rich as it is diverse. It ensures that every one of us has the chance to contribute to and benefit from cultural and scientific progress that can truly enhance our lives. Let's break this down into its core components to understand it better. Participation in cultural life. Think back to the last cultural event you attended. Maybe it was a buzzing music festival, a laid-back poetry night at your local cafe, or a vibrant art show right in your neighborhood. These events aren't just fun, they are essential to the vibrancy and health of our communities. They create spaces for expression, deepen our understanding, and connect us more closely with others. They celebrate our diversity and foster a mutual respect and understanding that's crucial in today's world. Yet, truly engaging in these activities often means we need to tackle various barriers head on. For instance, let's talk about inclusivity and accessibility. How open are these events to people with disabilities? Are financial or language barriers keeping some folks in our community from joining in? The recent shutdowns of several local arts programs due to budget cuts, a glaring issue in communities worldwide, show just how vital our support and voice are in keeping these cultural lifelines open to all. Thinking about these questions can push us to find ways to make cultural participation more inclusive. For example, we could advocate for sign language interpreters, better wheelchair access, or flexible pricing to allow everyone a chance to be a part of the experience. Moreover, let's consider how we can do more than just show up. Getting involved in the planning, pushing for diverse programming, and volunteering can enrich our community's cultural scene and make sure it truly reflects the diversity of its people. Protection of creations. Now, turning to the second part of Article 27, we focus on the creators, artists, musicians, scientists, and writers whose works add so much to our lives. Excuse me. This article aims to ensure that these creators are acknowledged and compensated for the work, which is key to fostering an environment where creativity and innovation can thrive. Consider a world without incentives for new creations. Artists might no longer feel driven to craft new works. Scientists might pull back on breakthrough research, and writers might hold back their best ideas. Protecting intellectual property is more than a legal issue. It's about sustaining a vibrant culture and scientific community that continues to evolve and inspire. How do copyright laws impact the music you stream, the books you can access, or the art you get to see? Understanding these protections help us see the balance between making cultural works accessible and ensuring creators can make a living from their efforts. In addition, how can we throw our support behind both local and global creators? Beyond just enjoying their work, we can advocate for ethical practices in art sales, support crowdfunding for new research, or engage in community events like book talks and science expos that showcase local talent. Supporting local libraries, indie bookstores, and community service initiatives also plays a huge part in nurturing a thriving cultural and scientific scene. By getting involved with both the participatory and protective aspects of Article 27, we do more than just enrich our own lives. We contribute to a broader cultural and scientific ecosystem that benefits our entire society. Let's make a commitment to be active participants in this ecosystem, supporting both the creation and enjoyment of cultural and scientific works in our communities and beyond. Let's not just be spectators in the cultural and scientific narrative of our times. Let's be contributors and defenders. If this crucial human right, the protection of moral and material interests for creators, is violated, the consequences can be deeply detrimental, not only to the creators themselves, but also to the cultural and scientific advancement of society as a whole. Imagine an environment where artists, scientists, and authors cannot claim ownership or receive recognition for their creations. This lack of protection could lead to a decline in artistic and scientific outputs, as creators might hesitate to share their work, fearing exploitation or theft. For emerging creatives and innovators in the Gen Z and millennial generations who often share their work digitally, this could mean a direct impact on their ability to monetize and continue their crafts. Moreover, without protection, the economic incentive for engaging in creative and innovative endeavors diminishes. When creators are not compensated for the work, the financial viability of pursuing a career in fields like art, science, or literature becomes increasingly challenging. The economic This economic impact can stifle diversity in these fields, as only those with financial security can afford to take risks on creative ventures. For young creators who are already navigating the complexities of a digital economy that undervalues digital content, this can add another layer of difficulty, forcing many talented individuals to abandon creative pursuits for more financially stable careers. Culturally, the repercussions of not safeguarding creators' rights are just as profound. A society that does not protect its artists and intellectuals is at risk of losing its cultural vibrancy and identity. Creative works inspire, challenge, and reflect the values and struggles of a society. When these works are unprotected, there's a risk that cultural development becomes stagnant, reflecting only a narrow set of voices that can afford to be heard. For millennials and Gen Z who value diversity and representation in media and arts, this erosion of cultural diversity could lead to a disconnect with the arts and define and narrate their societal roles. It's crucial then that we actively support and uphold laws and policies that protect the rights of creators. By doing so, we ensure that innovation and creativity, a core part of our cultural and intellectual fabric, continue to be vibrant and robust, advocating for robust intellectual property laws, supporting fair trade practices in art and science, and educating others about the importance of these rights can help maintain a dynamic cultural economy where creativity is not just celebrated, but also protected. Let's commit to being not only consumers of creative works, but also guardians of the rights that protect them. Next, we're going to take up human right number 28, a fair and free world, which states, everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which these rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. Let's take a look at a short video about this specific human right.
The world I see is fair and free. where people can travel wherever they please. And children can eat and have shoes on their feet and not be afraid when they walk on the street. It's not like there has to be rainbows and bunnies. There's streets full of people all dancing like dummies. But freedom to live, to learn, and to play, to just be yourself and think your own way. The road I see may sound crazy to you, but hopefully, someday, you'll see it too.
Let's now dive into this article. Article 28 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights isn't just foundational. It's the backbone of a global framework that champions the full realizations of all the rights detailed in this declaration. This article isn't about lofty ideals. It's a concrete call to action for fostering international unity and cooperation. Global frameworks, key international organizations like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and various human rights NGOs are critical in this global effort. They're the ones behind the scenes shaping policies, resolving conflicts, and promoting standards that impact health and human rights worldwide. These organizations strive to ensure that the benefits of human creativity, be it in arts, science, or cultural exchange, are accessible to all. Yet, how effective are these organizations really? This is where our role as proactive global citizens comes into play. It's vital for us to support these institutions while also holding them accountable. Are they too caught up in bureaucracy? Do they wield enough power to enforce their policies? Engaging with these organizations, whether through advocacy, financial contributions, or direct involvement, enables us to contribute to their success and uphold their integrity. Let's take a look at how these organizations affect our daily lives. The United Nations Human Rights Council, UNHRC, works to address and rectify human rights violations around the world. Through its Universal Periodic Review, every UN member state's human rights record is reviewed and assessed. This process promotes a level of accountability and encourages countries to fulfill their human rights obligations, reflecting the call to international order and the realization of rights laid out in Article 28. And with this, as citizens of the world, we have to look at, are they doing their jobs? Are human rights violations increasing or decreasing? The establishment of the International Criminal Court, ICC, exemplifies Article 28's influence by providing a means to prosecute individuals for international crimes that infringe on fundamental human rights, including genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. The ICC represents a significant advancement in global legal framework, ensuring that there is a venue for justice that transcends national boundaries, thereby fostering a global order where human rights are protected and violations are not overlooked. The influence of global governance is significant and direct. Every international treaty, peacekeeping mission, and global health initiative has practical implications for our lives. These international efforts can lead to safer, healthier, and more equitable societies, but they require our active participation. So how do we get involved? How do you get involved? By keeping ourselves informed about international matters through credible sources, engaging in global discussions, and influencing our national foreign policies through our votes. Moreover, volunteering for international aid organizations or participating in campaigns for global justice transforms us from bystanders into advocates for change. Furthermore, in today's digital age, staying connected and informed about these global efforts is easier than ever. Social media, online forums, and virtual conferences provide us with direct access to the inner workings of these global institutions. By tapping into these digital platforms, we not only stay informed, but also become part of a broader dialogue on how to enhance and refine the international systems that shape our world. Embracing our role in these global frameworks isn't optional. It's a necessity. As young people in a highly connected world, the decisions made on international stages affect everything from environmental policies and economic agreements to cultural changes that directly influence our lives and future prospects. By understanding and actively participating in these processes, we ensure that the global order is not just a concept, but a dynamic, evolving reality that meets contemporary challenges. Let's dive into this with energy and commitment, making sure our involvement in global governance is impactful and positive. Next, we're going to take up human right number 29, responsibility, which states, everyone has duties to the community in which alone the free and full development of his personality is possible. In the exercise of his rights and freedoms, everyone shall be subject only to such limitations as are determined by law solely for the purpose of securing due recognition and respect for the rights and freedoms of others and of meeting the just requirements of morality, public order, and the general welfare in a democratic society. These rights and freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purpose and principles of the United Nations. Let's take a look at a short video about this specific human right.
Good morning. I'm here to read you your rights.
My what?
We are all free and equal. Don't discriminate. You have the right to life.
You have the right to life and to live in freedom and safety.
You have a right to education. You have a right to your own things.
You have the right to social security. You have the right to play.
You have the right to democracy. You have the right to asylum.
You have the right to take responsibility.
And no one
and nobody can take these rights and freedoms away from you.
Why are you doing this?
You have a right to know.
You do have a right to know. And Article 29 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights focuses on the essential balance between exercising our individual freedoms and respecting the freedoms of others, a cornerstone for maintaining harmony and fairness in any society. This article is crucial because it underscores the idea that while everyone is entitled to human rights, these rights come with certain duties towards the community. These duties are essential for the harmony and well-being of the society in which individuals can freely and fully develop their personalities. Let's unpack this concept further. The first sentence of Article 29 emphasizes that everyone has duties to their community. This is significant because it highlights that the exercise of individual rights should not be in isolation from the consideration of others' rights and the common good. The community context is essential because it is within communities that individuals find the social structures necessary for personal development. This includes access to education, cultural life, security, and the opportunity to engage in civic activities. The free and full development of his personality is an intriguing and profound concept. It suggests that the realization of a person's potential and capabilities can fully occur only within a society that upholds both rights and duties. This development is multifaceted, encompassing educational, cultural, emotional, and spiritual growth. It acknowledges that personal development is not merely an individual pursuit, but is deeply interconnected with and dependent on the social environment. Article 29 elaborates on the interdependence of rights and duties, which is a cornerstone of social cohesion and order. This balance ensures that while individuals enjoy their rights, they also contribute positively to the community that supports their development. For instance, while individuals have the right to education, they also have the duty to contribute to the academic and respectful environment of educational institutions. Rights and duties are reciprocal. The duty to respect the rights of others ensures that one's own rights are safeguarded in return. This mutual respect fosters an environment where all can thrive. For example, freedom of expression is a right, but using it responsibly to respect others' rights and reputations is a duty that maintains the dignity and harmony of the community. In today's globalized world where individualism often dominates social discourse, Article 29 is a reminder of the importance of community and solidarity. Our freedoms are not without limits. They are tethered to the well-being of our community. The right to free speech, for instance, doesn't include the freedom to incite violence or spread hate. Similarly, while we cherish the right to assemble and protest, this does not grant permission to engage in violent riots that endanger others and damage property. Current events like the protests that sometimes escalate into violence starkly highlights these issues. These incidents prompt us to question how we can better uphold peaceful engagement over destructive actions. How can we, especially as younger generations, leverage our voices for positive change without overstepping the rights of others? This is about finding effective ways to advocate for what we believe in while ensuring our actions contribute constructively to our community. The interplay of rights and laws is complex, but necessary. Laws are designed to frame our rights within the bounds of what is safe and beneficial for the general public. Consider, for example, the regulations around misinformation and the internet. With the vast spread of digital information, how do we balance the right to free speech with the need to prevent the harmful effects of spreading false information? These laws manifest differently in various communities, influenced by local values, historical contexts, and social norms. They affect us by setting the boundaries within which we operate daily. Understanding these laws help us navigate our rights more effectively and allows us to contribute to shaping them. This engagement is crucial, particularly for younger generations eager to see change that reflects contemporary values and challenges. To influence these laws and ensure they align with our understanding of justice and equality, we must be actively involved. This can mean voting in elections, participating in community discussions, or even running for local office. It also means educating ourselves and our peers about the importance of legal frameworks that respect both individual freedoms and community welfare. By embracing our roles in this balance, recognizing our responsibilities, and understanding the legal and moral limitations we face, we can help forge a society that values both individual rights and community well-being. This isn't just about adhering to laws. It's about actively shaping a world where the delicate balance of rights creates a strong, fair, and thriving community for all. Next, we're going to take up human right number 30. No one can take away your human rights, which states, nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of these rights and freedoms set forth herein. Now let's take a look at a video on this specific human right.
We're all born free and equal.
Don't discriminate. These are your human rights. There are 30 of them. They belong to you. You don't have to buy them, or apply for them, or ask permission to have them. They're just yours. No matter who you are, where you're from, how old you are, or anything else. It's just that simple. Now, some people may try to ignore your rights, or violate them, or pretend they don't exist. But they can't change the fact that they're yours. Human right number 30. No one can take away your human rights. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.
Article 30 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights serves as the safeguard of the entire Declaration, ensuring that none of its principles can be twisted or misused in a way that might undermine the rights and freedoms it enshrines. It's a crucial closure to the Declaration, reinforcing that while these rights are universal, they also need protection from actions and interpretations that could diminish their effectiveness or harm individuals they are designed to protect. Let's look at some examples. Example laws and policies under the guise of protecting security or public morals are being misused to suppress certain freedoms and rights. Freedom of speech suppression in Russia. The government has enacted anti-extremism laws that have often been used to clamp down on dissent and limit free speech, especially targeting political activists and journalists. In Turkey, under the pretense of national security, especially following the attempted coup in 2016, the Turkish government has tightened controls on media and public expressions, leading to the arrest of journalists and closure of media outlets. In China, the cybersecurity laws in China are very stringent, allowing the government extensive powers to monitor and censor the internet usage of its citizens. The government justifies these laws as necessary for national security, but they significantly invade personal privacy. In the United States, the USA Patriot Act, enacted after the September 11 attacks, has provisions that allow for the mass collection of telephone metadata by the NSA, which many critics argue infringes on individual privacy rights. In India, the Citizenship Amendment Act in 2019 has been criticized for potentially stripping millions of Muslims of their citizenship rights under the guise of identifying illegal immigrants. In Hungary, government policies have been criticized for discriminating against LGBT individuals, justified by the need to protect traditional family values. These examples show how laws and policies, while were apparently created to protect security of morals, can be applied in ways that undermine fundamental human rights, such as freedom of speech, privacy, and equal rights for minorities. Article 30 isn't just a technical wrap-up. It's a proactive call to all of us, especially young adults and the next generation of leaders, to stay vigilant. We live in a dynamic world where laws and policies constantly evolve, and not always for the better. There are countless examples around the globe where governments have introduced or enacted laws that seemingly protect security or public morals, but in reality, they can be used to suppress freedom of speech, curb digital privacy, or limit the rights of minorities. This kind of environment demands our attention and critical engagement. Vigilance means more than just watching. It requires understanding the deep implications of policies and actions that our local and international leaders are taking. For instance, consider how anti-terrorism legislation has been used in various countries to justify extensive surveillance programs or the detention of activists without trials. These measures can often lead to a chilling effect on freedom of expression and association. It's essential to foster a a culture of critical thinking and informed debate among ourselves, no matter your age and no matter your opinion. This involves fully educating ourselves on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights about the nuances of the legislation, questioning the motives behind certain policies, and discussing these issues in our networks, whether that's over coffee or through social media platforms. Engaging in such discussions not only raises awareness, but also prepares us to effectively advocate for our rights and the rights of others. Moreover, Article 30 encourages us to look beyond our borders and consider international human rights dynamics. In an interconnected world, a policy shift in one nation can have ripple effects globally. Thus, understanding international law, participating in global forums, or supporting international human rights organizations becomes part of our duty as global citizens. Let's use the tools at our disposal, education, technology, and community engagement, to ensure that the rights promised in the Universal Declaration are not just theoretical ideas, but living, breathing realities that we work to uphold every day. By doing so, we not only protect ourselves, but also contribute to a global culture of human rights that respects and uplifts humanity in all its diversity. Let's commit to being not just passive observers, but active defenders of these rights. And with that, I'm going to leave you with a video about the history of our human rights, because it's important to know where the rights came from so we can see forth that they go in the correct direction.